Yeah, as I said, I'm really opposed to this, and like, even if they got a great score in a Billboard chart and those doing something like that, blah blah blah. Okay,
Mhm.
and there's a one more reason that they say that BTS doesn't have to go army is that that BTS made a lot of economical beneficial to the Korean.
Yeah,
Okay, let me tell you about this. Then, do you think that the Samsung family doesn't have to go to the military? I'm
that's
just
true.
thinking like that. Hmm?
That's very true.
And okay, even BTS says that they made a lot of economical benefits.
Hmm.
That never affected to me or like those people who 20 males and those who are on duty, and even if like I don't think a lot of people didn't have that benefit directly. I don't know what
Right,
they made for that. And
right.
okay, think about the Gal Gadot, the Israel actress working in the States. You guys will know the name Wonder Woman. She's that actress. She also went to the military because Israel also has a drafting system.
Yes.
And still, she's working hard and she's really famous. Look at the Gal Gadot. She also served her duty. And why is BTS going to make an exemption for their duty? They're trying to out of from the five one of the five duty that Korean may have to do. What's your idea for this? Like,
I think the idea of have of having an exemption period is wrong if it's not related to medical issues. If you're going to, I mean, me personally, I don't personally agree with mandatory military service. That's just me.
hmm?
In my opinion, if you're going to do mandatory military service, which, like I said, I don't agree with in principle, but if it's going to be enacted, I think that first of all, men and women should go because
Hmm.
I believe in equality. So I think men and women should have to serve, not only men. And number two, I think like if there's a kind of exemption thing, I do not think that athletes or pure artists should also be allowed to be exempted in this case. I think that nobody should be able to be exempted at all unless there's a genuine kind of medical issue. And if they have a certain physical medical issue, then they can do the alternative social service. I think that is much more fair. But like I said, if it were me, I wouldn't do mandatory at all. But if I did, I would number one make it more fair across the board for both genders, and number two, I would make the conditions a lot better because the conditions like of going into the military aren't that great, and it's robbing these young people, these young men in Korea from advancing in their careers. And there's already, a lot of economic problems that everyone is facing throughout the world, and having to serve in the military doesn't help. It's 2 years of them not being able to advance, and a lot of companies are, despite it being mandatory, are not very sympathetic towards it, which I really don't agree with. I think it's messed up.
Oh, by the way, there was a one actor who ran to the States to
He
out.
ran to the States. Oh yeah.
I think you've heard about the
I
name.
I've heard of this situation,
Hmm.
but I know that this is a large reason why a lot the Korean government doesn't allow uh dual citizenship because they don't want people to be able to circumvent uh the military
Yeah.
duty. So
Hmm.
that's why like if a Korean person marries somebody from another country and they have a kid, that kid has to choose whether they are a citizen of Korea or a citizen of the other country. They can't have both.
Let me keep talk about the guy who ran to the States
Yeah.
to out of duty. His name is Yu Seung Jun, Stephen Yu.
Mm.
I think you've heard about that. He was really famous, star like BTS. Yeah, at that time there's a also issue that is he really gonna go to the military, and he chose to run. He chose to get a green card in the States, and
Wow.
after that, for now he's almost like 40, and the Korean government declined him coming back to Korea. He went to the
Wow.
inter airport, and the immigration declined. He had to go back. That's what happened to the first generation idol. For him, yeah, this will be really, really ridiculous and rage situation. If BTS choose not to serve as an army and they are still working as an idol in Korean, the Stephen Yu will be crying, I guess. And well, to be fair, what's the difference between them? Like,
yeah, no,
I mean, they was trying to avoid the duty, and government is giving a really heavy shit to the one guy, and for the other, government is trying to help him.
Mm-hmm.
That's really ridiculous. Okay, talking about the Jin, I think he's really irresponsible.
Mm.
Do you know what he said recently about the military?
No, please enlighten me.
Okay, so he also said that my company, the Hive, will be on charge with my military issue. Bro, you are the one who live in the Korea, and you are the one who is a Korean citizen, and you are the one who has a right and the duty as a Korean people. And why are you gonna let your company charge with your duty? That's really irresponsible. What the fuck is this?
I think that, I do think that it's incredibly tone deaf. Let me think. I do think that it's incredibly tone deaf, and I feel like a lot of celebrities tend to be when they get to a certain point because of, how much money and privilege that they have. I think people really forget about the everyday person because it's not just about him. It's about, like, everyone. And I know for me, I just couldn't feel comfortable expecting special treatment over the other person. Why? Just because they're not famous like you. Not everybody can be famous. Not everybody can have the privilege that you have. And not to say that they didn't work hard for it, because they absolutely did work very, very hard to reach the success that they have. But a lot of people work very, very hard for what they have, and they still have to go, and they still have things that they have to do. And while I don't agree with the mandatory military thing in general, I feel like that's a different conversation than saying, well, I don't deserve to go. I think that the conversation should shift more towards, why do we only have to go? Why is it expected that only we have to go? I think that is a much better inclusive conversation, and we really shouldn't be dividing it by class like this, because that's what it is. But I hope that this definitely gives insight, especially if there are any international fans of BTS that are listening. And I know that a lot of international fans are usually aware of the mandatory male military service, just because it is talked about in Korean dramas and in Korean culture. And I do hope that we can have a more inclusive, equitable conversation about this as a whole. And yeah, that's just all I have to say about that.
Okay, so this will be all for this week, and we'll see you on next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.